Welcome to this week's edition of Outdoors Online, a weekly webcast produced by the North Dakota Game and Fish Department. I'm your host, Tom Jensen. My guest this week is a familiar face. Jeb Williams is the Wildlife Division Chief at Game and Fish. Jeb, every year about this time we do our webcast on the big three, moose, elk, and bighorn. Applications are going to be out soon, or they're out now, and when is the deadline?
The deadline is March 23rd, and people, this might be the longest webcast in history, Tom, with dealing with the big three, so we have a lot of changes to discuss this year.
Well, we are back to the big three again. There is some big news, Jeb, about the bighorn sheep. We're going to talk about this in a little bit. There are changes to all three species. We're going to take them one at a time. We're going to save possibly the best for last, I guess. Let's talk about elk first, Jeb. Any changes? Are there more licenses, fewer licenses this year?
We have good news to report that there's going to be more licenses, more once-in-a-lifetime opportunities for the sporting public, and that really unique opportunity that we have in North Dakota. Backing up a number of years, we didn't know for sure what the elk population was going to look like outside of Theodore Roosevelt National Park after the reduction took place, and if we're talking about the units in the western part of the state. But they've really responded quite well, actually, and we have been seeing that the elk have been doing just fine outside of Theodore Roosevelt National Park, establishing some of their own areas out there and doing quite well. And we've been working with a number of landowners out there that are, having some concerns, and we're trying to be flexible, responsive to those issues, and increasing some licenses opportunities out in that part of the state.
Do you know how many licenses we're going to offer this year?
Yeah, there's going to be an increase of about just over 35 licenses from last year. We were right around 300 last year, and this year we're going to be at, I believe, 338 licenses.
Any changes to zones or anything?
We do have a big change of a zone in E5, actually, in our E5, which is the rest of the state. And the E5 was originally designed for problematic elk that were interacting with domestic elk operations. And what was going on there was young bulls that were kept roaming around the outside, the perimeters of the fencing operations of the domestic elk farms and ranches. And instead of the department putting down those elk, the department instituted E5 to where we would give a hunter an opportunity to go out there and remove that elk. And that has worked in certain cases to where maybe an individual has gone out to their particular unit and has spent a lot of time and hasn't been successful. And we give them the opportunity to do this, and that it's worked out for some individuals. Well, and folks probably saw the latest North Dakota Outdoors, Tom, where we talked about the Sioux County Elk Project. The department has been working with the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe and the landowners to work together to try to come up with some solutions to manage that elk herd and give everyone an opportunity at a hunting opportunity down there. So that's going to be our goal for 2017. But in the meantime, we have closed down E5 in Sioux County. And so individual elk hunters who have been previously licensed in other units in other years that have been able to hunt in E5, they will still be able to do that, but not in Sioux County. Sioux County will be eliminated from an open area of hunting, and with the goal in mind of being together in 2017 with Standing Rock Sioux Tribe and the landowners to try to move forward with this unique opportunity.
Jeb, we always get calls here at Game and Fish about people asking if there are ways that they can up their odds of being drawn. Of course, it's a once-in-a-lifetime tag. It's residents only. Are there ways that they can up their odds?
Applying for a cow tag, an antlerless tag, is the way to do that, and that definitely significantly increases your chances of participating in a once-in-a-lifetime hunt in North Dakota, whether we're talking elk or moose.
Let's move on to moose.
Yeah.
Any changes?
A lot of changes in moose. Again, an increase of opportunity for the sporting public. Moose have been something that the department has been scratching our heads about for a number of years. The traditional areas that have held moose in North Dakota are struggling. I think a lot of folks have probably read about the issues in Minnesota as well, where moose populations are struggling. We're seeing some of that in the northern part of the state too. Again, the real wooded, timbered area that traditionally has been great moose habitat. Well, they're not doing great there, but they appear to be doing very well on the prairies of North Dakota, and we're seeing that in the northwest part of the state, and the north central part of the state, and then now even moving down to the southern portion of the state as well. So an increase of licenses in the northwest and the north central part of the state, and we're also moving M6, the zone boundary right now, the western boundary, we're moving that all the way over to the Missouri River because we've been trying to be responsive to some landowner concerns southeast of Bismarck and making that an open unit to relieve some stress on some folks that are having some issues down in that area with moose.
And the same thing applies here as far as applying for a cow?
It does, yeah. It definitely can increase your odds a lot by choosing that cow option, that antlerless option. If people want to have a lot of good meat in the freezer and want to participate in that once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, they can definitely increase their odds by going the antlerless route.
The third of the big three, Bighorn sheep, big news.
Big news. We're really glad to be calling it the Big Three again. You know, last year it was kind of a bummer having to call it the Big Two, and so I think it's important that, you know, we talk about the past a little bit with the Bighorn sheep issue. Is that, you know, in 2014 we had the pneumonia issue, and so last year in 2000 and we took the year off in 2015. And we needed to get our stuff together. We needed to figure out what was left out on the landscape. The research associated with pneumonia in bighorn sheep shows anywhere from a 30 to 90% mortality. So I mean, really all over the board as far as what we could have end up with. And we feel fortunate that at this point in time, we're on the lower end of that mortality. I mean, we know we lost some sheep out there. We originally thought we maybe lost some additional sheep. Maybe thought that we'd lost some adult mature rams out there that weren't showing up on the breeding grounds when we were doing our surveys, and but they did show up this year, and so that's good news. And we don't know whether they were somewhat sick during that first portion and just kind of laying back and you know, not participating in the rut, not being in their normal areas in the fall when we did some of the counts, but. Good news is you know, we have documented that some of the mature rams are still available and around, and we think that that'd be great to give the public an opportunity at those, because there is somewhat of a mentality associated with this of a use it or lose it resource, and we would just as soon have that public opportunity to appreciate those wild sheep rather than those sheep potentially dying from pneumonia, which certainly still is a possibility.
In a best case scenario, Jeb, how many tags would you possibly give out? Not a guarantee. Yeah,
we're doing this so much different, Tom, and that's why we, again, appreciate the public's understanding and patience of this, but we put in a range. The requested number that we put into the governor's office was a range of 2 to 8 sheep. And what I mean we're doing this different is, in the past, people knew how many licenses they were applying for. They knew what unit they could apply for. This year, they're just going to be applying. We're just going to ask them to apply during the normal time frame. And then we're going to conduct our surveys in the summer months, come out at the end of August with the numbers after those surveys have been determined, come out with the number of licenses, in each unit, and then we'll hold the lottery. And then if we come out with, say, 5 licenses, those individuals are going to come up in order, and they're going to be contacted individually to choose a unit and to accept a license. And so it's going to be done quite a bit different than in the past, but I think and I hope the public will understand why we're doing it this way. We want to make sure that we're not putting once-in-a-lifetime licenses in the hands of individuals, and then they go out there and find out that maybe the pneumonia reoccurrence is in place and they're running into a bunch of sick sheep. We want to avoid that if at all possible.
Let me ask you this, Jeb. These are non-refundable applications. So you put your $5 in for a bighorn sheep lottery. What if we decide not to have a season?
That's a great question, and something we want to be crystal clear about to the public. As you mentioned, this is by state law, it's a non-refundable fee, and the public is okay with that when we have seasons. I think they understand there's an application fee associated with that, but the tricky part about this is that, yes, there is a chance that we may not have that bighorn sheep season. If we find out doing our summer surveys that pneumonia reoccurs and that we don't feel comfortable putting people out in the field in that situation, as far as, you know, utilizing that once-in-a-lifetime tag when there's sick sheep out there, we will utilize our ability to close that season down. but people will not be refunded that $5 fee. And so I think all we're asking is the public to understand that. If they have any concern about that, I guess the simple answer is you might want to sit this year out.
Just don't even apply.
Don't apply if you're concerned about the possibility of the season being closed due to the disease issues, because you're not going to get your $5 back. So we just want to be crystal clear to the public about that situation.
Jeb, every year we auction a tag to the Foundation for North American Wild Sheep, and that helps offset our expenses for managing the sheep herd. How's that going to work?
They are still going to be auctioning a license, Tom, and that. But one of the things we did to be fair with that is that we will not be accepting those funds until we determine our surveys and determine that there is going to be a season, and so that process will be the same essentially as it's going to be for other lottery participants. Is that information will be finalized come the first part of September.
And you said late August, first part of September, you'll make your decision. That doesn't give people much of a run-up to the season to make their plans, so be prepared.
Be prepared, that's right. And again, that's where we're asking for the public's patience on this, because season begins October 28th for the regular season, actually the 21st for the archery portion of the season. And so, you know, we're gonna speed things along the best we can, but you know, we're not gonna have all of our survey information complete until the end of August. We'll run the lottery as soon as we possibly can, get folks contacted early part of September, and then they're gonna have the ability, of course, whether to accept that license. I would think, going out on a little bit of a limb here, but I would think that most people are probably gonna be fairly excited about that phone call. But there's a chance that other folks might have had other things scheduled, or maybe another hunt somewhere else, and that conflicts with that. And so there is a chance that they might have to turn that down. But I guess the way we're looking at this situation, Tom, is that the other option with this is not to have a season. And we think that there is a lot of merit in putting people out there enjoying this unique opportunity, and we feel there's some opportunity to be had, and we'd like the public to take advantage of it.
Jeb, thanks.
Thank you, Tom.
Lottery applications for moose, elk, and bighorn sheep will be available the week of March 7th if you want to apply. Here's how you can apply for the lottery. The easiest is to apply online. Log on to the Game & Fish website at gf.nd.gov. Follow the links to the lottery, fill out the application, and pay the non-refundable fee. Paper applications are still available at most licensed vendors around the state. Again, fill it out, send in the fee, and keep your fingers crossed. The deadline to apply for the lottery is Wednesday, March 23rd. For Jeb Williams and the rest of the staff here at North Dakota Game & Fish, thanks for joining us for Outdoors Online. We'll see you again next week.